finishing. So by the time an artist dies, a painter dies, you will notice that in his last show, most of the paintings look alike. It's supply and demand, most of them sell out. But more than anything else, Duchamp says, I need that type of art that is more cerebral, you know, that puts you to think. And surrealism more than anything else was a literary movement. A lot of beautiful poems and stuff. So I got involved with all of that, but I didn't say myself I'm going to be a surrealist. But then I did tell myself one thing. I said, if I study surrealism and if I take surrealism to be my guide, it's easy to say that it will take me to the year 2000 and beyond. Why? Because it's a movement that deals with the mind. And the mind is the universe, right? So there is no way I cannot reach what I'm looking for. Then I was doing collage, until today, a lot of my paintings, they start as a collage. And then I turn them into paintings, and then they end up as installations.
Is there a connection between surrealism and Mexican muralism, as you had seen in your earlier life at that point already?
No, the only surrealist and pseudo, it will be one painting by Frida Kahlo. One and only painting is called What the Water Gave Me. There is one that I saw that I still mention him now and then, and even the Mexican Museum doesn't know who he is. His name is Antonio Ruiz, El Corcito. The only surrealist that I know of that influenced me, and he would do little paintings, but before he would finish them, some big museum was already wanted it. There is some one or two pieces at MoMA, there is in Germany, and his work is a mixture of surrealism with social realism. I don't know what you call it, but something of what I do.
Yeah, I asked the question because it seems like some of the work of Diego Rivera, Siqueiros, Orozco, Frida Kahlo could be called surreal. I mean, sometimes it has surrealistic elements, so I didn't know if that was a connection you were making between what was going on.
No. Okay. Now remember, muralism is a total movement of, apart. Most of them were communists. The only one that wasn't a communist was Orozco, which is one of my favorite artists because he doesn't have any dogmas. And back then, the Mexican communists were so divided that they would kill each other before they came to power. They didn't came to power until the 80s, I think, when they finally got united. And the surrealists also, I think the surrealism was an unfinished project because because of the Second World War, they ended up communists too. So they kind of broke the whole thing. But when we talk about ideas, about magic and stuff, that's where I love surrealism. What happened was then, I was drafted. And I totally refused to go to Vietnam for many reasons. Almost like the same thing that Cassius Clay said. That's what I was thinking. I say, so it will be impossible for me, for a young boy from Catholic Irapuato, to go kill Vietnamese people that I don't even know. Or for who? It doesn't make any sense. So I packed up my little things and went back to Mexico. And I ended up in Mexico City in 1968.
Whoa.
And by then,
year in Mexican history.
By then, they had already killed Che Guevara. I got a vision of what the United States were planning to do with the rest of the continent by setting up dictatorships. Always killing the true Democrats and setting up dictatorships until today. So that's when I became politicized. I mean, politicized in a word that the artists can see or can paint about the eternal contradictions of capitalism.
Tell us about what politicized you, what opened your eyes to the system.
The student movement, because I was there with the students from Irapuato, and we were demanding a public dialogue with the president of Mexico. And we wanted to talk about the corruption that led us to the problems of today. For 80 years, the Mexican government has made Mexicans poor and has turned Mexico into one of the most humiliating experiences for Mexicans to live in their own country. So the government repressed them, and I was a young man, and it affected me. So I hitchhiked one day and came back. I arrived on Taylor Street because my mother was still living there. But I noticed that there was nothing going on Taylor Street. You know, I always saw old people looking out the windows, and I was with no friends. I was, what, 20, 21. That's when I decided to go to Pilsen. Some students, they had an organization called OLAS, Organization of Latin American Students. They says, Marcos, come to Pilsen, the things are happening. Okay, so I went to their office, which was on 17 and Halsted, and I became artist in residence. That's when I say that most of my studios has been free. I lived there like a ghost. Nobody knew I lived there. I lived there for 2 years, you know, with gaslight and everything. It was an event in church, but it was a nice event in church. So I hang out with the students, and I did my first commissions. And I did some wonderful work. This is before I call it artists, you know, when something stops you from doing what you're supposed to do. Interrupted. Was a young man interrupted. While I was in the studio, I did some wonderful pieces that right now they ended up at the Mexican Museum. But I look back and I was doing good stuff.
I'm going to pause you right there just so we can reset our camera.